is Dr. Sidjae Price, bestselling author, speaker, and entrepreneur, and you are watching So Booking Cool.
So booking, so booking, so booking cool.
There's so motherfucking cool to listen to So Booking Cool.
Welcome to So Booking Cool, it's Jewel B. Today's guest is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, and consultant. She's the owner of the solutions-based company for corporate and government agencies, Priceless Planning, Priceless Publishing, which has spawned more than 50 bestsellers and counting, and the founder of Speak Loud Incorporated, a youth-based nonprofit organization. She's also the creator of Rise and Shine Jamaica Expo. Our guest partners with businesses and brands around the world, including the US, Nigeria, Botswana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. Her book, Chasing Rainbows, will have you pursuing the bag outside the will of God, is a faith-based guide for entrepreneurs. Here with us today, she is Dr. Sidjae Price. Stay tuned for our conversation only on So Booking Cool.
Hey.
Hello there.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. So glad to have you today.
Yes.
So what does this statement about chasing rainbows, your book, mean to you? It will have you pursuing the bag outside the will of God.
So when I initially wrote the book, the reason for that title was because it was like the theme of the year was everybody got to get to the bag. But so many times we are rushing and trying to get to the bag, and it's not in direct alignment with the will of God over our lives. So that's kind of like where you're chasing the rainbows, trying to get to the pot of gold. And it's just not, you're doing it without God because you're not in alignment.
What does it mean to be in alignment?
I would say doing everything according to what God wants you to do, what you know that God wants you to do, doing everything that is biblically correct according to the faith. So that's what it means to be in alignment. It's almost like, I look at the Bible kind of like, at least in my eyes, because it can be for so much different interpretations, but there are business lessons in there to me. And so it's kind of like, if you're doing things that are not, graceful or disrespectful or even unethical to clients, you're not in alignment with the will of God. So I think all of those things matters, not just like making sure that you're in your purpose and doing what you're supposed to do, but also how are you operating while you're in your purpose as well.
Okay. Yeah. And church introduced you to business, right?
Yes and no. So my faith walk has been a bit unique because I actually, I've kind of, I guess you can say, like grazed through a few different religions, not intentionally, but more so because part of my life I lived in Jamaica, and so I went to a Catholic school, so I had to learn Catholic doctrine and things like that. And then I was baptized a Pentecostal, and I know something else in that mix. But so now I'm just at a place where it's more so about my relationship with God and his son Jesus, to be clear, and just really non-denominational. I believe in the Bible, prayer, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, all of that. So, but then business came into play, answer the other part of your question, because I was on this journey. I thought I wanted to become an attorney. So that's what I was going to college for. And then I realized it's just not going to work out because I wasn't a great test taker. And so in that process, I started to I've always had that niche to help people. And so in like 2015, I want to say, I started Speak Loud, which was my first venture, which is a nonprofit, through just obedience and listening to God and serving the community.
Wow. Okay. So who introduced you to faith, would you say?
I would say school introduced me to faith, to be honest. Because growing up for a majority of my life in the islands, even though I was born in the US, there's certain routines that you have to do as a child. Like they have devotions every morning. So you have to like pray and worship before you even go into the lessons for the day. So that structure is different, and you are made to go to religious studies as a part of the curriculum for school. So you learn about the Bible, or whatever type of school it is, you learn about that belief.
What was the first lesson that you learned when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
To do research. To do research. So in building a nonprofit, I had to learn a lot from scratch. I realized that not the first thing I Google I should go with. I would say I wasted money paying for things that I could have done myself if I did the research or took the time to figure it out. And then I could have reallocated that funds elsewhere. So I would say definitely do the research. It's almost like, let's say getting an LLC. So a lot of people will say, go to an attorney, but the reality is, do you really need an attorney to go file a LLC with your Secretary of State? You don't really need to. Maybe consult with them about it to make sure that's the right business entity being formed, but you don't need them to file and fill out the self-explanatory paperwork. So I would say that first thing that I learned was definitely do research and understand more about certain processes that are needed in order to be structured correctly for business.
Okay, love that advice. What sparked the idea for Priceless Publishing?
Priceless Publishing was an accidental company. It was not in my intentions to become a publisher. It was more so along the lines of I took a course on learning to publish my own book because I wanted to learn for myself. So it was like, okay, learn how to do it for you. And I took that course, and part of the course was an assignment to get someone, a beta tester, to publish their book. And I got a beta tester, published her book. And from there, it was like, oh, somebody saw her book, they want to do it. And then I was like, okay, all right, fine. I'll do it because it's just a nice thing to do. And then somebody else will come from that book. And it's been that same cycle of literally like, oh, somebody see a book. Oh, who did it? That looks nice. Send that person. So, and that all started back in 2019 or 2018, I want to say. And so that was how Priceless Publishing got started, because people will comment under my page and say, oh, Priceless Publishing. And I would tell them, no, I'm not doing another company. You guys are crazy. And here I am, another company later.
Yeah. Wow. So you started fairly early, not long ago, and look at everything that you've been able to do with it so far. How does that feel?
It's definitely surreal. It's, being a business owner with a few different ventures, and I can definitely say the publishing company has been one that has surprised me the most, because not only have I been able to I think it's been like maybe around 50 best-selling authors now we've gotten to. But the clientele has also been a dream list of clients that I know people would be like, oh my God, how did you get these people? So I've worked with US Congress members. I've worked with major influencers, major popular pastors, HBCU professors, college, university professors. It's been a long list of people, but it's all people that like when they come to me, I'm like, how did you find me type situation. And they'll tell me and I'd be like, wow. And it's really through the most unusual way that they find me, but I know that it's all God for sure. And I'm thankful for that.
Definitely. One of the Congress members came on So Booking Cool, Hope Goins. And I remember asking her, how did she find out about Priceless Publishing? And, she did her research and she reached out to you and you guys had a chat and it went well.
Absolutely. And that shows, I remember that conversation with her, but that shows the power of social media and in what folks what folks sometimes miss is that we have to make sure that we're showing up or we have things in place because you never know who will be watching. You never know who may be interested and may be looking for your website and then you don't have that website up, or they're looking for your Instagram page and you don't even have one post on it. I know sometimes life happens and we can't always be consistent and things like that, but there are people that are looking for your services. So you have to make sure that you are positioned correctly. So when the opportunity comes, it does, you get the opportunity, you don't miss the door.
Right. Yes. And also you work with other authors too, like Tiffany Lanier.
Yes, I work with other authors as well. I've worked with Tiffany Lanier. I've worked with Dana Bolden, Shanika Wright, and a few others. But when I tell you all of them are doing amazing things with their books, from school curriculums, tours, fundraisers, donations, they're all doing wonderful things that sometimes even surprise me, like, what? You guys are doing what? And so it's really good to see them all flourish for sure. And what's even more amazing is I like to see when they post the readers, like the feedback from the readers, especially for the children authors. They're my soft spot, to see the little kids like, smiling or having conversations with their parents. I had this book on, there was a book that we intentionally make sure that the illustrator put in diverse kids. So we had disabilities or different skin colors, all these different things. And a child told their parent, Mom, how come his leg is like that? And that prompted that conversation with that child to explain the differences in people, but we're all still good people and should be treated nicely. And I thought to myself, like, that is definitely helping, because those conversations need to be had to limit the bullying in school and all of these things that happen. So yeah.
So do you look for authors to publish who their books are going to start important conversations and make a difference in society and the world overall?
You know what? I don't necessarily look for those type of authors, but I've learned to be more selective in the process of signing on new authors, because I realized that the company should aim to publish authors who are going to be the change makers, the change agents. So the screening process has changed over the years for authors. And so that helps me to kind of choose based on those reasons. And the team also, I noticed they work better when there's books that they like, oh my God, I really love this. Their ideas flow differently to also help the author out. So it's like a team effort.
Oh, that's so interesting, Dr. Price, everything you just said. So what do you look for when you're looking to sign authors and give them deals? And when did you notice that you needed to be a bit more selective?
When I noticed I needed to be a bit more selective, when I had a very bad client experience, and I realized that basically that person just wanted to make money from their book. They didn't really care about the readers. So I look for individuals, there's like a protocol form that's filled out at the beginning. But I look for things such as, their goals, what are the dreams that they want to do. So looking at that and then making sure that the book that they're publishing, we can help them to align with their goals and, dreams and stuff like that. Like we had a book on safety, Franny the nanny. No, not the nanny, Franny the safety nanny or something, I can't remember, but it's a book on safety, and she's a safety expert, and the goal was to publish the book so she can go into schools and teach kids about safety, because that's what she's been doing for years. So even in that, there was that alignment there.
Okay, safety, that's definitely, it sounds like a book worth checking out. I mean, all your stuff is worth checking out.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Dr. Price. What does your day typically look like as a boss woman?
The day. So definitely lots of Asana. Asana is literally the thing that is a project management system that allows for me to schedule my entire day. So every day I definitely have at least 2 to 3 tasks that's assigned in there, so I know exactly what I'm doing. But there are specific days that are like blocked off for just meetings. Normally 2 days out of the week are just for meetings, and then the weekends are typically mine to do whatever I want. I try to get that self-care in. But the other days are normally either doing operational things or doing client work, so things like that.
What are some of your favorite things to do outside of work, or do they at all align with your work?
I think outside of work, I would say I like to hang out with my family. We eat out a lot. Pre-COVID, I was all about traveling. So I said next year I'm going to get back into that. And so that's really it. I like water. So the beach, the pool, anything that is calming. Lately, it's been a lot of Netflix and chill in my bed with a glass of wine. So yeah.
Okay, any recommendations? We also talk about film on So Booking Cool too, or TV.
People may probably think like, what? Why is she watching this? My family laugh at me. So I am a zombie person. I like to watch anything related to zombies, apocalypse. Those are my indulgence things. I'm watching Walking Dead for like the second time. I don't know why, because I've been waiting on Netflix to bring out the other season, and clearly COVID has messed up all these different things. But apart from that, I've found also The Neighborhood with Sidjae Entertainer. That show has been hilarious. That also has been good as well. So I like those shows.
So you mentioned you had watched Walking Dead again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watched it again. Okay, so do you also reread books?
I don't, but I sometimes will go to books for a point of reference, like if I need to re-encourage myself on something, because normally, like if I'm reading, I'm the type of person like I'll highlight, underline, jot. If you look in the back of the book, you probably see like notes and things that I've written out to help me to remember things or things that are coming to me. And so it may be like in a moment of like when I'm feeling low, I'll go for a book and be like, what did the book say again? Like how to remind, it's kind of like reopening into the section to remind myself on how to encourage myself, basically.
Oh, love that. Any books that you enjoy reading? Any genres?
I like faith-based books and business books, but lately I've been exposed to audiobooks, and I have found audio fiction books, and they have been amazing. It's literally like I am listening to, it's like I'm watching a show, but I'm listening, and like it's like, what? Huh? So it's like these expressions. So lately I've been liking the fiction audiobooks. I didn't even know I knew about audiobooks, but I'm not normally a fiction reader. So to be exposed to fiction audiobooks and actually like it, I found it to be very interesting because that's not normally me.
What did you find interesting about it?
I like the narration, and the excitement that you can hear as different scenes and things like that go on. So that's what I like the most about it.
Okay. And what was your relationship with books and reading as a youth, as well as entrepreneurship?
And so with reading and books, it's funny because I didn't really always liked reading as a child, but it was something that I had to go into when I got into graduate studies. I had no choice but to read. And so that's kind of how I was really like falling in love with the concept of reading, was mostly my graduate studies. So it's like I was doing it before because I had to, but now I'm doing it because I really want to do it. I had a professor who he would give, basically it was about 20 books on the curriculum that he wanted us to read for his class. But how we'll do it is everyone in the class will take a chapter, and then every time we meet, everyone would kind of give a synopsis of the chapter. And then, but what I noticed myself doing is when I would read my chapter, it would be so interesting. I would start skipping more. And the book that really did that to me was, it's the medical, I'm gonna tell you, it's the medical experiment. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's the medical apartheid. That's it. Medical apartheid: the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times. That was it. It's by Harriet Washington. And it was that book that really intrigued me because I was just like, what? These things really happened? Because it's not something that's talked about a lot, especially not in schools, right? So you only know what you know unless you're told. So it was really like, you'll hear about it, but to actually read it and then you go online and research it, it was like, what? So that was like one of my favorite books that really like piqued my interest into reading. And then there were a few others as well too. So, but yeah, that's one of my faves.
So what led to you writing your very own book, Chasing Rainbows?
I would say obedience for God. So naturally I like to write. I like to write, and I think, like, thinking back now, I've probably actually been doing that from when I was a child, whether it was like keeping the diary or journaling or things like that. And I've just always been that writer. And so it's like sometimes, how can I put it? Sometimes like like God will give you, like, if you really do believe in God, he'll give you the stories or what to write, and it's really just writing them down as they come and making sure that you're doing everything in obedience. So that's really how I got into writing.
So you had this inspiration from God. I love how much you have a connection to faith.
Thank you. I'm not perfect, as I always tell people, but I try to do the right thing as much as possible. But I'm definitely not perfect. But, also I felt like there was a gap on books where it was like there was either mostly books on strictly business, that's it, or there was books on faith only. So there wasn't anything that was like at that intersection for the millennial faith-based person who was going into business. And so that is really why I wrote the book, because I wanted to fill that gap. And so those of us who are millennial based or young folks or whatever you want to call it, you know, that we can really figure out how to intersect that part. Because it's like, you know, if we're reading a book on business, you're just hearing about that author and their, you know, story of waiting for $1 million and how they got it, you know. So the book has two parts where it's sharing my story, but then it's also going into the practical steps that you can take by using the Bible and applying it to business.
How have you noticed people respond to Chasing Rainbows so far?
People love it. People love it. I've gotten tons of feedback. I still see folks, like, even till today, they'll still like message me, hey, you know, this in your book made sense. I love this. Or I'm going to start doing this. Or your book helped me to restore my faith and things like that. So it's definitely been all positive feedback. It has, you know, in releasing the book, I was just thinking, okay, it'll just be in the US. But then it ended up reaching people all across the world, which was actually quite interesting to me. So there was folks in the Caribbean, there was folks in Europe, and there was a young lady, I want to say she was in Pakistan, believe it or not, that I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I got the book. I was really surprised. So, yeah.
Wow, it must feel amazing to have people respond so positively to your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who would you say were some of your biggest cheerleaders when writing your book?
My sister. She listens to every, hey, how does this sound? She told me the other day, I'm not a business advisor. I said, I know, but just listen. My mom, and there's a few business friends that also, like, I'll run something by them and they'll listen, or they'll be like, okay, email it to me and I'll look it over. This makes sense. Add this, take this out. So I would say, yeah, family and close friends.
Do you think that books are a way for people to know the author better, whether these people already know the author or people who are coming across the author by reading their book? What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Price?
I think it could be a mix, because even if it's a fiction book, there's still the possibility of the author kind of revealing a sense of truth in the fictional character about themselves. And then even if it is a nonfiction book, there's still the opinions of information that's being offered from the author. So individuals are getting to know, like, this person really feels this way on this topic. So it's a mixture of both.
Okay. And what have you learned about publishing, and what is something that you think the publishing world could improve upon, or what do you like about it?
So I've learned that the publishing world is not always created equally. There are companies that are doing things very unethical, and I encourage individuals to do their research, trust the feedback that they're seeing online, because not all publishing companies offer great deals. Especially if you are a self-published author, you should be walking away with, I would say, 90 to 100% of your royalties and not just 10%. And I've seen those bad situations as well for authors. So you want to do your research, trust the reviews that you're seeing, bad or good, online. If needed, ask for also recommendations as well. I've sent out, like, people have asked me, who are some people that you've worked with, and can I contact them? And once I don't have an NDA, then yeah, contact them. That's fine. And most people will do that. And the person will always tell them, yes, she's good or whatever. But, the publishing industry, there's so much that is changing, whereas traditionally published books, you could, get like a $10,000 deal and then walk away, write the book, but you're giving up all your rights. But now you have influencers, online who can still self-publish a book and walk away with $20,000. So you want to figure out which way is strategically better for you. I do believe in owning the contents of your book for sure. So I like the self-publishing route.
Right. And that's something that Priceless Publishing does, right? Authors have 100% of
their rights. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you also work with authors to come up with a bestseller strategy, because that's also something like that your books, they make the bestsellers list in categories and stuff on Amazon and whatnot.
Yes, so I do work with them to come up with that strategy. And most of them, I can honestly say, hit that strategy, and the badge of honor is getting the little orange tag on Amazon that says #1 new release or hot new release or something like that. So that's like the badge of honor. The strategy is one that I can say it's kind of like my signature thing. But it wasn't always like that. When I was initially figuring out how to get books to be there, it was a lot of trial and error, staying up late, researching, reading, figuring out. And, but I finally got it. But at first it was a headache. So now, almost all the books get on that bestseller list. For sure. My goal next is to figure out how to get a self-published author on the New York Times bestseller list. But I know that takes, I believe they need like 10,000 book sales. So that would have to be working with someone over the course of 1.5 to 2 years, because you have to do the pre-orders and all these things. And then the New York Times bestsellers only takes from certain bookstores and a whole bunch of logistical things. So, but one day though.
One day. Yes, it will happen.
Yes.
So you obviously, you're rooted and very grounded in faith. Do you also believe in manifestation?
Tricky question. I think in today's world, how it's being used is a bit questionable. My personal beliefs, not forcing it on anyone, hope nobody don't come and attack me, is that God allows for you to manifest. You manifest things through God. It's not just like and I think when individuals consistently say I manifested, it takes God out of the equation and it makes it seem like you did it on your own. And I don't believe that we can do anything on our own. I believe that God contributes 100% to our well-being. But do I believe in speaking positively over ourselves? Absolutely. Your tongue is a powerful weapon. It's in the Bible. So you need to make sure that you're speaking positively over yourself and doing, and giving yourself those words of wisdom and everything like that. So I believe in that, but that's how I look at manifestation.
That's a very interesting take. Yeah. I haven't heard too many tap into that layer before.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Would you write another book?
Yes. Believe it or not, there are about 3 more books that I know that are within me that somehow I need to finish writing. I do want to do a children's book for sure. So something fictional based. I have some ideas for that already. So that's going to be like a new avenue for me to take on. And then I want to do a book on diversity. And then the other book that I'll be doing is on myself and my journey, but that's probably going to be like the last one down the road. So yeah, I do see myself writing more books. I know I will. It's just completing writing the books. But yeah.
What advice do you have for writers and authors out there as a publisher and as an author yourself?
My advice would be to write as the information come to you. Like, don't feel pressure to get up and write every day at 6 a.m. because the best guru said that you have to get up at 6 a.m. and write. Me, I am not a 6 a.m. person at all. I would rather write at 2 a.m. in the morning and be wide awake versus 6 a.m., you know? So write at the times that are most convenient for you. Also, be aware of the resources that are available to you when writing. You don't have to always sit and type at your computer. You can use voice typing or, audio transcription or anything like that, but you don't have to sit at a table and desk and be professional and write, because it doesn't always work for that. It doesn't always work like that for everyone. So, yeah.
And just to get your take on some business stuff, do you believe in work hard, play later, TeamNoSleep? What are your thoughts on those things?
Team definitely sleep, because I'm asleep. I am going to sleep. I am going to sleep. I am going to get my rest. Without my rest, I cannot function. I'd find myself having anxiety. The TeamNoSleep is not for me at all. You definitely have to work and play. I mean, of course, life can't be perfect, so you can't have that perfect work-life balance, but you do want to make sure that you are trying to balance life. You have to throw some play in there. I think that is why so many are suffering mentally, because society has allowed us to put so much strain on ourselves to be the best of this and the best of that. And even earlier this year, I had to sit down and evaluate, do I really need to do this? Like, what am I doing it for? And who am I doing it for? Because sometimes we end up picking up projects that we don't need to be doing because we need to prove something to someone. And the reality is we have no one to prove anything to but ourselves. Yeah.
What is the best quality in an entrepreneur and the best quality in a publisher?
The best quality in an entrepreneur, I would say, is honesty. I think it is something that is very rare nowadays. It is something that is not spoken highly of. Of course, we know there's lots of people lying online about all different types of things. So I think hashtag, if we can bring honesty back into business, that would be great. And then in a publisher is not doing it for money. So because like a lot of my clients, they'll notice, like, I will see, like, let's say I'm strolling online and I see an opportunity that can benefit them. I'll send it to them, even if it's after a year that we've worked together, because it's not just about, making the financial goals for me. It's also about the impact as well that their books are having on individuals, and it's about being honest. So like a lot of times I also tell authors, like, if myself or my junior publisher or assistant, like, if we're reading through the book and we see anything that don't make sense, like, we'll let you know, like, this doesn't make sense, or it's not going to work for your age readers and things like that. So we let them know very honestly. Then it's up to them, yay or nay, if they want to keep it or not.
Where do you see yourself, like, within the next 5 years or so in business and in the book world?
The next 5 years. Well, the next 5 years, I definitely would like to be debt-free, for sure. I would definitely like to be debt-free, own a few properties, and kind of a little less working so hard. And so I guess financially, I would need to be a millionaire in the next 5 years. Yep, I need to be a millionaire based on this economy. I need to hit $1 million in the next 5 years. And in the publishing world, in the next 5 years, who knows, maybe I will end up owning like some sort of bookstore or having very large scale events. These are all things that I've toyed with the ideas on, that my team, those closest to me, have told me like, hey, think about this, think about that. So yeah, I would really like to do something significant for authors who are change agents, because I think that's so important.
And on that note, Dr. Sidjae Price. Dr. Sidjae Price, thank you for talking to and coming on So Booking Cool today. Loved speaking with you. I want to do so again in the future. And let everyone know how they can keep up with you and the wonderful work that you're doing and get chasing rainbows, all of that.
Absolutely. So on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, I am Dr. Sidjae Price, DRSIDJAE Price. Those are all the handles across the board. And then to learn more about myself or my companies, you can visit my website at sidjaeprice.com.
Make sure you guys definitely check out Dr. Sidjae Price. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners. Until next time, So Booking Cool.
Thank you.